Hi, my name is Mark Bernat. I'm a monetary economist. In this video, I want to talk about the Russian ruble and how it's breaking down and it's not finding any kind of support. Support, again, is the opposite of resistance. Support is a line in which it usually typically doesn't cross for psychological reasons, like it's a 10 or a 5. In this case, support was a penny and it was bouncing off that penny, Russian ruble to USD. And now the next logical level of support is 0.0095. But it broke through that again. It broke down. And so we have a ruble that's not finding support. It can't find support. It's in a downward spiral. And I want to talk about what is the relationship between the news, the fundamentals, the economy in Russia, and why this is not finding support. Why it doesn't find support at 0.0095, and it's trying to find support. And I don't think I've ever seen a more beautiful downward pattern than a ruble. You can say whatever. You can say the causes are this or that. But remember, Stan Weinstein, How to Make Money in a Bull or Bear Market, said 1,000 earnings reports or 1,000 examinations of the news and the current events does not equal one glance at the tape, because the tape tells all. Obviously, the tape is an archaic term for the trend or the trend line because they use literally tape. So the trend tells all. St. Augustine said that there's 3 types of time. There's the present, past. Some people are stuck in the past for various reasons, and the present, future. And most of us are fairly forward-looking. So Stan Weinstein says, don't worry about the news. Look at what the tape, listen to the signals of the tape and the trend. And again, to recant, the 15-year trend of the ruble is down, the 10-year, the 5-year, the 1-year, the 6-month, the 3-month, the 1-month, the 1 week, the 1 day, and the intraday is down. And not only is it down, the moving average is down, the 50-day, 200-day, the 50-day moving average down, and you have something called a death cross, which is a strong confirmation signal of the downward trend in which the 50-day is below the 200-day, and the price signal of the ruble is pulling it all down. So it's very hard to argue with this, that the future is embedded in the price because we're always forward-looking. And the market doesn't care about you personally, your ideology, what you think, what you feel. It's going to be reflected in the collective unconsciousness, this receptacle, all of intemporal expectations and trade-offs, something called a price. So we're going to talk about the news. Stay with me because it's funny and interesting. So Elvira Lambiov, she said she put her arm around Putin, or the Tsar of Russia, and said, look, we're out of cash. Actually, I don't think she used those words. My sources say that the Russian economy is like a turtle slipping down a slippery slide, a grease slippery slide, up the creek without a paddle, something in those more metaphorical words. The reason why it's the no road back scenario for Russia and the Russian economy is simply this. Because imagine and I'm going to put it in microeconomics terms and create an analogy that it's irrefutable. You know about the Amish in Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Dutch, right? Pennsylvania Deutsch. They're hardworking, productive, intelligent people, and they're fairly prosperous. Can you imagine if all the men, able-bodied men, the strong, sapient men full of life and vitality, they went and invaded the Ohio Amish and tried to control it and take it over? And let's say this went on for years and years. What would be left of the Amish community in Pennsylvania? The homes would go into disrepair. Who would father their children? What would be the future generation and the stand on the Amish? Of course, they wouldn't do that. It's a ridiculous scenario. But that, in a sense, is what Russia is doing to Ukraine. Correct? It's just using, instead of productive minds and hands, creating capital, doing positive things, they're destroying capital. And the capital is being misallocated into a non-productive sector. So in the Amish, if the Amish would do something like that, just think about the impact on the economy. And that is why the ruble is going down. But it's just not that. There's something else going down. Any asset that breaks 2 levels of support so rapidly, there's something else going on beyond the scenes. And we're going to look at what that is. So now that we've established that the trend is your friend, just like if somebody's walking in one direction for an hour, they're probably, or 10 minutes, they're not going to do an about face abruptly when they're on a course. And that is a trend line. It's going in a direction for a reason. And again, my underlying claim is there's something else going behind the scenes. You may say, oh, it's because of Donald. It's, you're comparing it to the US dollar, and the US dollar is anticipating Donald. Yay, Donald. No, it's not that. Because the dollar is down against the Swiss franc. The dollar is down against the Great British Pound. The dollar is down against the Polish zloty. The dollar is down against the euro. The dollar is down against the yen. You look at these trends. Some of it can be argued, but you can't argue that the dollar is down against these things. You could say, oh, well, oil. The ruble is correlated to oil. No, not in this case. Brent oil has been up over the last month. I think 73 to now 74. Because say interest rates. Oh, it's correlated to interest rates. No, it is correlated. It should be correlated to interest rates. But the Russian interest rates keep on going up. 21, 24, 29. Who is infinity, I say. So it's not correlated to oil. It's not correlated to interest rates. It's not correlated to the politics in the United States. You could say, oh, well, things are going bad for Russia geopolitically. An argument could be made on the front, but the other counter-argument could be made, at least by Russian bloggers, that it's not. So if it's not currency, if it's not the elections in the U.S., if it's not oil, if it's not interest rates, if it's something else, that is what is being reflected in this downward breakdown past support. Again, support is the level it should find. It just cannot find support. It's a technical term. It can't find support. It will bounce within a range of that support, but right now we don't even have that range. It's the death cross. So you may say, well, the Russian economy is going to be okay, even with sanctions, because we have this oil. Again, the Dutch disease, the resource curse. Captain Kirk, Trouble and Tribble, said, even too much of a good thing is bad, right? He said something to that effect. Too much of anything. And that is why this oil can't save them. It's not a productive asset. It's not like a machine. It's not like a factory. It's taking something from the primary sector, converting it to the secondary or tertiary sector. It's not doing that. It's just pure. It's like they're taking a house and they're just selling their furniture in that house. That's not a house that I think I call financially stable. So if the ruble can't find support, it's in a death spiral, a downward spiral, and maybe it will find support somewhere. What's the explanation? Certainly the economics don't tell about this. When you're talking about the Russian foreign minister, Anton, what is his name, Silvanov, he says something very simple. It's okay the ruble's falling. This is an interesting message. And it looks like Elvira is going to follow suit because she, obviously likes to look out the window sometimes and she doesn't want to accidentally fall. So it looks like Elvira is going to follow suit. She says it's okay the ruble's falling down. You believe that line of malarkey? Listen, that's the whole thing about communism. They tell you a lie, and then dictators, they tell you a lie and you're supposed to believe it. Like under communism, they'd always say chocolate production was up 40% this quarter. First of all, why would chocolate production be up 40% in one quarter, and who eats that much chocolate? But there's actually repeaters in the U.S., bloggers and podcasters jumping up and down saying it's not our business. And no, the Russian economy is going down. It's going down. And this foreign minister said the ruble decline is good because it will help Russian exports. What exports? They don't even have exports. That's a hedge of empires. Wooden ships and iron men idea of empires. I think as Diaz said, we came to serve czar and country, ... and to get rich, collect gold. It was all about greed and not creating something good. So in a mercantilist idea and model, you should be producing something at least. All they have is oil, and oil is quoted in dollars, right? Okay, you don't need an Einstein for that. You don't have to be a mathwit. Isn't oil quoted in dollars? So what does it matter that the ruble is going down? Is that going to help exports in some way? No, it's going to hurt everything about the Russian economy. They don't produce anything. I'm not buying Russian cars and Russian, cell phones and Russian cameras or Russian clothing or Russian food or whatever. So it's just nonsense they're spewing out. An economy is based on capital formation, free entrepreneurial capital formation. So when people say, oh, what's going to happen in Ukraine and what's going to happen in Russia, good always wins over evil. You don't believe it? Think about think about what Adam Smith said. And he had two books, Theory of Moral Settlement and A Wealth of Nation, that were predominant. And he said, basically, this is the most efficient and the best way for humanity to make the world a better place. In his Theory of Moral Settlement, he was talking about it's just not self-interest, it's enlightened self-interest. I think he actually used the, Victorian, archaic, not even Victorian, archaic term, we all should be lovely human beings or something like that. He was Scottish and using flowery words at the time, 1776. So he's talking about this enlightened self-interest that will always win. Always side with the light, always side with the good, and be the best version of yourself. And the best version of any economy is freedom. Because free, transparent markets, not mercantilism, not this ridiculous stuff that Sylvanov or Evelina or the Tsar of Russia is trying to broadcast. Think about the metaphor of the Amish. So when it breaks support and can't find support, there is something major going on that we don't know about. Jake Pro, he was showing the Tsar of Russia look like totally an AI generated thing. Is it something related to him? I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. I'm just saying it's collapsing, it's going down, and the tape tells all. Now, there's other signals besides the trend, and I looked at these signals, and I created different models. I couldn't create a VAR. I tried to run it through VAR. I'm not comfortable with the numbers that the VAR, vector autoregression analysis, put out yet to make any kind of quantitative claim. But there are other signals that are also saying that the fundamentals of the Russian economy cannot be sustained. All Ukraine has to do is hold on a little longer, and they can. Ukraine is connected to these markets freely. Russia, the sanctions are getting tighter and tighter. Gazprom, they're not going to be exporting to Europe. Gazprom, they're just basically going under. What is there left in the Russian economy? Nothing. Watch the trend. Watch the 200-day moving average. Watch the 50-day moving average. Watch the relationship between the 200-day moving average and the 50-day moving average, and watch if it ever will find support. Because right now, if it doesn't find support at 0.009, it almost looks like I said, Candyland, game over. Everybody can go to Russia and just buy whatever they want. See it above it. My name is Mark Gernot. I'm a monetary economist. Have a great day. Thank you very much.